Thanks to all of you for coming this afternoon. How will we live tomorrow? Everyone in this room believes that we have a hand in shaping tomorrow. We cannot determine it. Humans don't know the future. But we are all graduates of an institution whose mission statement is to advance knowledge and educate students in science, technology, and other areas of scholarship that will best serve the nation and the world in the 21st century. That is a positive mission statement. That is a mission statement that is rooted in the idea that humans can be agents of our destiny. I wondered whether everyone agreed with that positive perspective, and so I decided to ask. Now, who am I to ask the question, how will we live tomorrow? I am a guy on a bicycle with a yellow shirt and a big black question mark, which I figure makes me expert as anyone in asking a question that does not actually have a proper answer. Prior to hopping on my bicycle, I was an architect for over 30 years. I designed healthcare facilities, and during the time that I designed healthcare facilities, I like to think that spaces for patients became more appropriate. But at the same time, healthcare moved from being a social good to being a business. And the longer I was involved in healthcare, the more efficiency drove the discussion. Until I became involved in perhaps the least efficient place on the face of the planet, Haiti. I spent 3 years and visited the Magic Island over 20 times to design and supervise earthquake-resistant structures in Haiti. And when my project and work there was complete, I have to admit, so was my passion for American-style healthcare. So I retired. Now, once you stop working for money, how you spend your time becomes even more important. You have way more choices, and you have fewer excuses. So, my appreciation for the richness of Haitian life, which was a richness measured in hope rather than dollars, made me wonder about my own country, and I decided that I wanted to pursue and investigate the United States in a deeper way, to understand how so much affluence yields so little satisfaction. Now, I always enjoyed riding my bicycle, so I got this idea that I was going to ride my bike to the 48 contiguous states. Figured it would take me about a year, and as I went, I wanted to engage with people I met along the way. So I decided to ask a question. How will we live tomorrow? 5 deliberate words chosen to be as specific as possible, considering that I'm asking a question which has no correct response. How is a logistical word. The whys and whats of our nation are embedded in our Constitution, our laws, our social and economic patterns. Unless we have a revolution, we cannot revisit them. We shift the why and the what of our country by how we act. Will is a declarative word. If I ask people how should we live tomorrow, I let everyone off the hook. We all know we should live in peace and harmony, but we haven't done such a great job at that so far. We is the most important word of my question. It is not I, it is not you, it is not they. We is the sole pronoun that fuses the individual and the collective. It is a word a lot of Americans choke over. History and geography have blessed this nation with more opportunities for individual expression than almost any country ever. And yet, as we grow and become more connected, we are going to have to grapple with the collective. Live is my optimistic word. I like to think that we are going to live as individuals, as a nation, and as a species for a long, long time. I cannot argue with people who think our demise is imminent. There's plenty of evidence for that, but I'm not interested in how we're going to die. You can watch a science fiction movie to figure that out. Tomorrow. When is tomorrow? It is 24 hours from now, and it is the distant future. This is the word that makes my question both practical and ephemeral. I get immediate responses, and I get fantastic speculation. The key about the word tomorrow is it acknowledges that tomorrow is rooted in today. It grows out of what we do and how we behave now. So, I pack up some stuff. I make a bunch of yellow cards. Everything's very yellow because I want to be seen. I take off on my bicycle, and I figure people might want to talk to a guy on a bike. I underestimate this by a huge margin. People love to talk to a guy on a bike. They seek me out, they tell me stories, they give me stuff all of the time. People in this country are hungry to meet folks who are traveling through life in a different way. I traveled over 20,000 miles. I spent at least one overnight in each of the 48 states. I spent 50 nights in California because it's California. I stayed with over 267 host families who invited me home. Almost none of them did I know before I arrived at their door. I profiled over 450 individuals and organizations about tomorrow, and I asked thousands of people my question. So what did I learn? The United States is one coast-to-coast marathon of Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. New Jersey is dense packed. Wyoming is empty. The media thrives on discord. People in the Midwest want to be liked. People in the mountain states just want you to move on. Thank you very much. The vast majority of people in our country feel like they have reduced opportunities, and the 1% grows richer every day. Southerners are the only people who use the word honor, and they say it in a way that makes me tingle. President Trump is the perfect opposite to President Obama. Nevada is parched desert, and Louisiana is sinking swamp. There is, however, one characteristic that flows through every stratum and every state. It is the dichotomy that Americans are rugged individuals and that we are compassionate. Consider Randy. Randy is a Vietnam-era vet. He runs a hamburger and ice cream stand just north of the INS checkpoint outside of Yuma, Arizona. While I'm having an ice cream cone, Randy explains how he landed stateside in 1969, was harassed by a hippie in the airport, slugged the guy, and got arrested before he ever even saw the light of day. He then fast forwards to tell me about walking his daughter down the aisle at her wedding, and his eyes grow moist. Then he tells me of his son, a Marine, returning from his deployment in Iraq. He arrives at DFW Airport to a huge crowds and banners, a hero's welcome. Randy opens his arms to greet his son as he approaches, and his son stops him short, gives his father a salute, and says, "Thank you, sir, for your service to our country." Less than 15 minutes after I meet Randy, fat tears are rolling down this man's cheeks. Randy is a tough guy, and he is a tender man. Tender toughness is the essence of the American character. We police the world, and we want to be loved by it. We flip between strength and vulnerability on a dime, and we don't know why nobody understands us. Now, in science, no matter how extreme a reaction is, Newton's third law will balance it with an equally extreme reaction. But in society, when our actions get more and more extreme, they spin like a centrifuge. Ideas move faster and faster away from each other. Think about what a centrifuge does. It takes a coherent substance and separates it into its constituent parts. That is what we are doing in the United States. We are highlighting our differences. We are accentuating what separates us. We are not celebrating what we have in common. Now, I'm not going to leave you with all doom and gloom, because the truth is I had an amazing experience traveling through this country. And I think for all of our problems, there is always a way to look at a solution. Consider energy. There is more energy coming into our planetary system every day than we can possibly use. We just have to get our heads out of the ground, stop burning carbon, and use the sun and the wind in our face. Our problems are almost never technological, which is kind of too bad from an MIT perspective. They are social, they are political, they are economic, they are problems of communication, and they are problems that if we talk to each other, we can solve. The most profound thing that happened to me on my bicycle trip was that the nature of time itself slowed down. It took me a day to get where you all go in a car in an hour. And everything slowed down correspondingly. And as it got slower, traveling so slow for over a year, life became richer and it became more present. We have to slow down. Not just in our activities, but in our expectations. We have to look beyond short-term wants to what the long-term objectives and goals are going to be. How in the world are we going to stop to slow down the centrifugal forces of the United States? I'm going to suggest we start in Austin, Texas. I met a woman named Tanya Hall. She's the CEO of the Greenleaf Book Group, an award-winning company that provides publishing services and has won a lot of awards for a democratic workplace. So I asked Tanya, what is so special about working here? And she talks about some programs and some events, and she said, really, it's the culture that we have developed. No matter what the interaction is among staff and clients, we assume best intent. Now let's shift to Dickinson, North Dakota, where I meet Ann, and she tells me all about her big family and her church group and her extended community. And I ask Ann, how big is your community? Does it go beyond the town of Dickinson? Does it include all of North Dakota? And she says, well, except for parts of Fargo. And I realize that North Dakota is a rural state, and Fargo is way over on the eastern fringe, and it has a whole 100,000 people. It is definitely the big city. We are tribal creatures. We are inclined to trust family, friends, and peers. Among those in our community, we instinctively assume best intent. And we are instinctively distrustful of those beyond our community. This is both an opportunity and a challenge because now we live in a world where community is no longer defined by geography or ethnicity or most of the traditional ways that we define community. When you work with somebody who lives on another continent, the opportunity to think that the community is large is great. But when you have never laid eyes on the person who lives in the apartment next door to you, the proclivity to hunker down is fierce. I cannot give you one response for how will we live tomorrow. But I can tell you that the more we live in fear, suspicion, and competition of the other 7 billion people on this planet, the less opportunities we will have to create community. We all are part of the MIT community. It is a community that believes in the truth of science. We believe in the power of technology to be good. It's hard for us to believe that beyond Cambridge, there is a world of people who do not share that experience. There are people who are distrustful of science and fearful of technology. They do not find them as beneficial, they find them as threats. So my challenge to you is a personal one, because as a person who rode his bike and talked to anybody I met, I firmly believe that the only opportunity for fundamental change are small personal acts. Every day, talk to someone you know. Someone who's beyond your community, someone you don't know much about. Listen to what they say. Assume best intent. Grow your community. Let it include everyone. Let it include everything on our planet. May it even include fart. Thank you very much.